So I got my ZZYZX back. Normally I don't make a video when I get knives back from like for a tune, but I have been flipping the ZZYZX. Also hilariously, I'm wearing this extra large ZZYZX shirt because it's really, I mean, it's like not the most softest shirt ever, but it's nice and big and it's nice and the pajama shirt. Also, I cut my hair kind of. I missed how it used to be. But yeah, I just wanted to make a video about how while I don't normally make videos about getting knives back for like either kind of like basic mod work, um, I might do something in the future when I eventually get my knives back from blocks because I have like 3 there. So first things first. One, I guess when Paul was first selling the ZZYZX, he wasn't super consistent with tuning, and he's gotten much better. And so while the tune on this was pretty solid, um, it wasn't like the most precise bushings tune ever. And so I sent it in because he's like, yeah, just feel free to send it in for a fix because that's covered under warranty. And he was even willing to replace my black hardware with gold hardware, which is something that I was like, I really wanted. Shout outs to Paul. And so yeah, now that I've gotten it back from him, and it's got like that is the maximum amount of wiggle room that you get, and it's good. It feels super snappy when I do fans. As before, there's a wee bit of wiggle room, but it feels really good with fans and rollovers. And I just mostly wanted to talk about how I fucking love the ZZYZX. This is one of my favorite knives of all time. I think eventually I'll make a video that is just all of my favorite knives, and hopefully it won't just be my entire wall. But the ZZYZX is, if I were to keep like 5 knives and I had to get rid of all the other ones for whatever reason, the ZZYZX would absolutely be one of my keepers. By far one of my favorites. One thing I like about so the thing about the ZZYZX is that it comes in a beautiful, gorgeous wooden box made by hand. It has like these little nice polishing cloth or whatever, and like this, it's got a lot of stuff as well as like a soundtrack and lore, and it's kind of wild and out there. And so we all like to call it the lore knife, but even if it didn't have any of that, and even if this wasn't like some people like things because they're expensive and hard to get and rare, even if this was common and everyone had it, even if they had none of the extra bells and whistles, this would still be one of my favorite knives. One, I love how unique design is. You can recognize just the handle, you can recognize just the blade. It is just a design with lots of character, and it feels really unique. And it is like, some people say that like, oh, if someone tries to cloud cloning, but then like, oh, then every Tanto is a clone. And I was like, no, that's not how it works. Like actually, I think I forgot their username. It's like, I'm not the person who has like really nice art. They made a submission for the Nibali's competition, and like there's like 3 little circles that are like vaguely reminiscent of the ZZYZX, but it's not a clone. And Paul himself was like, okay, like I could see like some similarities, but I don't think this is a clone, and he gave him the thumbs up. Um, but like the thing is like there's, as far as I can tell, like basically nothing in here that is like clone, unless you want to get super nitty gritty and be like, oh, there's jimping. There's like one person out there who's like, oh, this person copied my jimping. Like, I don't know. And like, yeah, there's like some big face cutouts, but all in all, like he says that he got this part from a tuning fork, like the bottom of a tuning fork. I don't remember if he said about like this part here, and I think that he told me a little bit about some design things that were like originally supposed to be and how it was, and he opted for screws and pins because it was possible to get it even tighter and get a better ring. Speaking of which, it has a nice sound, and I personally like it. It's got a ring and bounce to it. I actually think I can oil this a little bit, but some people might not like the ring. And Zippy also has handle inserts that silence the ring. I am not sure if I want to get one because I like how it looks without the inserts, but the inserts also look so cool, and especially with the holographic. And I'm like, what would I get? Would I get holographic black or holographic white or gold? Anyways, so if the ring is a deal breaker, fret not, because Yeah, that's nice. Better bounce. Because you can get a ring silencer from Zippy. And, there's 3 different blades. This is the Abyss. The Incept is similar to the Abyss, but it's just a little pointier, while this is more rounded. Actually, you can see this is what the Incept blade looks like on my boobs. And the Lazarus is similar to kind of like how the Nakiri looks, and it's sort of like a cleaver blade where there's no tip, and it just kind of is like the front is just flat, and then it comes down a little bit, maybe kind of like the Incept. No, the Incept is more like there's like an angle here. It feels weird just poking my own boob. Anyways, though, besides those 3 blades, I have not tried an Incept or a Lazarus. I hear there's slight differences, but like as far as I can tell, they're all pretty relatively similar, opposed to like a Tanto and a Bowie or whatever the fuck it's pronounced. Those definitely have some differences. A Kukri and like a haystack knife can have a Japanese Tanto, an American Tanto, or a Kukri. Frankenforge also has that kind of combination, and all of those will be different. I'm not sure if the Lazarus or the Incept feel different, but I would say if there is a difference, I doubt it would be big enough to make it a deal breaker, because like I wanted an Abyss. I think even I got this before Lazarus was revealed, and I still would prefer the Abyss. And frankly, I love how it flips because it fans really nicely, beautifully. It feels like it fans very neutrally. However, I don't know if it's just this amount or if it's just the length of this blade, because this blade's quite long. This is a long Balisong in general. I don't have a Kraken anymore. I used to have a Kraken to be like, here's how it is compared to a Kraken. But this Balisong is a bit longer, and I feel that like it gives a very nice amount of rollover momentum. I'm coming to realize that a lot of momentum actually has to deal with the blade shape and weight distribution, as well as of course the handles, because if there are hot spots in the handles or they're just significantly heavier, it'll affect things. But I personally find that a lot of times the blade matters a lot in terms of rollover and momentum. And so if I'm doing just like a thumb rollover vertically, that feels really clean and easy. I don't have to like roll it too hard. It's not a lot of movement and momentum. Like sometimes it stalls like that, but that's honestly a skill issue. Sometimes other Balisongs, like that's like these last 2 stalls, that last 3 stalls, sometimes it happens. It's like, okay, partially a skill issue. But I will say that for the ZZYZX, it's less common and it's a lot easier in general to get that clean vertical thumb rollover. And I'll talk about that later with a different Balisong that I was like, I'm kind of like flip-flop. It's like mostly a minute detail that I'm thinking about in terms of like the blade weight. Because it's still an excellent Balisong. But like in general, I feel like the ZZYZX has everything I want. It is a little coarse. These chamfers have texture, and like I've already made a video about unboxing this and a Balisong breakdown, which is like sort of like my version of a review. You can see how shitty my haircut is. I cut my own hair. Sort of a like Balisong breakdown. I consider like my versions of reviews, but they are. I mean, it's subjective, and I mean, some people might consider me an expert, but like I think. I want to have room for plausible deniability, because, especially some of my earlier reviews, I definitely didn't know as much as I know now, and I'm still learning. But yeah, as you can see, there are some chamfers, and they have texture on here. Sometimes I feel like, because of the way this Balisong is shaped, it's a bit square. It does have chamfers, albeit those have textures, and they are kind of nice and soft. Due to just texture, and every time you see a video, I have sensitive hands, but I do. I do find that at times it can be a little bit more like exhausting to flip over time compared to like my Seraph, which is just so smooth and comfortable. The Seraph has basically no hard edges and no face milling. So besides the chevrons, but it's just so comfortable. And for the most part, the ZZYZX is very comfortable, and it does not make my hands hurt compared to like the Kanto Origin or the Reaper V1, two Balisongs that I really much enjoy and appreciate how much grip they have. But, you know, it can be a little rough on my hands over time. And, yeah, fuck. So, the ZZYZX is kind of like in between where it's like, for the most part, comfortable. I wonder if, like, you know, the zippy inserts would, like, make it even more comfortable. But, you know, again, I like the sound. My roommate does not. This Balisong, I just feel like I can do everything on. Oh, also, if you didn't know, I inked the Asa Works logo down here with a silver pen, or a silver ink pen. I learned the technique from Beaver. And I tried to do it with the text up here. It kind of faded for ZZYZX. I tried to replace it with white, and I tried to replace it with gray, and it just doesn't look good. But it looks much better here on Abyss, and this is the number 36. Yeah, unfortunately on this side, it just doesn't stick, and there's a little bit of like ink splatter here, and I was like, oh no, the integrity of the value. Fuck that. I'm never getting rid of this fucking knife. This knife is the fucking best. But yeah, while my choker fans aren't always clean, I feel like doing choker fans on this, it fans out so easily. And that's, you know, this is from like a neutral position down here. Just doing that from a neutral position, it fans out so fucking cleanly. I don't necessarily know if that is a testament to like just really good balance or a relatively even weight distribution or whatever. I don't know all the nitty gritty like things. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know if Balisong makers necessarily know all of the nitty gritty things, and there are probably so many different opinions. You could probably get a different opinion from every maker. Obviously there's some conventions, but I just think that the ZZYZX is really fucking good, and I'm having such a hard time putting this down despite having four Balisongs on loan. I have the Vortex and the Xiphoid, and oh no, these are mine. The Nami Trainer and this Rep from Bally Blade Made, that is static anomalous liners and blade, and they're all fun to flip. But after getting this back, I'm just having such a hard time putting this down because it is so fucking good. Now, that said, it retails for like $1,000, and that's a lot of money. And I did not pay $1,000, but I did pay, you know, a good amount of money. So I would say, you know, if people are like, is it worth it? I would absolutely say, if possible, try before you buy. I know that's really hard to do, but you know, I do temp trades. I did just get this back, and I think I'm gonna temp trade this for an Orca. Someone I traded with earlier. And so like I flipped an Orca once before, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is really good. I kind of see the hype. I do think it's a little overhyped, but I've never reviewed the Orca on the channel. Again, that was only like once and for a little bit, whereas like, you know, I personally say, if you got the money, or you're looking to trade, I don't know, an Orca, you know, one of the JK knives, or a solo or whatever, and you don't know what you want, I love the ZZYZX. I love the Phobos too. I think that's you know, it's in the same price range, but the ZZYZX is a nice balance between good all around flipping, in my opinion. I know that Alex Nguyen tried it, and it didn't click with him. But in my opinion, this has like a very nice all around flipping experience. Great for fans, great for rollovers, great weight distribution and balance, as well as breaking convention in terms of design. Like this blade shape, there's nothing really like it. I'm sure there's probably something else that has like a little bit of a nub out there. And these handles, you know, they're maybe not the most revolutionary handle design ever, but they're still really cool and distinct and beautiful, and they feel good, and it sounds good. It is just an all-around very, very good product. And I don't remember, I think it's like 4.2-ish or 4.3. The weight is, it's average weight, and it's titanium. Yeah, 4.3 on the dot. 4 ounces and 3/10 of an ounce. It is a very average weight. It is significantly longer than some things here. I guess I'll just use this rep as an example. I think this rep is shorter. I stand corrected. This rep is really long. What the fuck? Let's look at this this vortex. It's longer. It's longer than a Kraken. I'll tell you that much. It's not the longest knife ever, but I would say it's certainly on the longer end. Similar, but maybe slightly shorter length than machine-wise knives, albeit heavier. But compared to the SLIFT and the Marin, it just feels so nicely balanced. I feel like a knife either has to have a weight hotspot at the ends of the handle and at the tip of the blade, or it should have no hotspots at all. That's kind of a take that right now I'm not sure I'm married to, but like at least in terms of like the ZZYZX, it's got maybe the most mild hotspot ever at the very tip, just with a slight bit more tip momentum, and the weight of the handle, I would say maybe you could argue there's some like weight at the end here compared to how much is milled out here, but like that's pretty standard. The Frankenforge amp that I have with the Japanese Tanto is, as far as I can tell, one of like the most evenly weight distributed Balisongs I've ever flipped. Whereas the Haystack Raindrop Devil I had was the opposite, where it had a kukri and like very milled out handles and then like titanium spacers at the end. And I was like, oh my god, it's balanced. It is distinctly very tip and ass heavy. And then the amp is just like the most neutral, smooth weight distribution. I'm sure that you can find lots of things in between. The ZZYZX might be in between, but it doesn't really feel like it has crazy weight hotspots. At least flipping wise. Flipping wise, it feels like pretty evenly distributed. And like my Sarin, the Marin blade with the serif handles and zippy weights with no tungsten, also like very, very equally smooth, no weight hotspots. And then I'm eventually going to talk about like some of these other Ballies, like the Xiphoid, which really fucking good knife. But I definitely feel like, oh, and also like the Cygnus when I had this. I'm waiting to get my Cygnus back from Andrew Myers because he's lasering the blade. It's gonna be so fucking pretty. You're not ready. I'll later do a video on my Cygnus showcasing just the grail efforts that I put into like making this one knife as beautiful as possible, because like that one was like the knife that attracted me the most as I was getting into this hobby, and it was like my grail, and I was like, oh, it's so expensive, and now here I am, knee deep in spending. Buy my Carlo, please. And essentially though, the Cygnus has weight hotspots, because it especially when it had titanium spacers, it was ass heavier, and then there was a lot more weight milled out of the faces and the liners because, or I guess the slabs, because of the G10 inlays. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what I wanted to say with this video, except that I just wanted to talk about, I fucking love the ZZYZX. I'm keeping this knife forever, unless I am like in the most debt possible, in which case, I don't know, I'd probably get rid of something else first. But this is the ZZYZX. It looks cool. It sounds cool. It feels great. And if you like neutral Balisongs, but you also like rollover, like, I don't know, I feel like this has it all. Honestly, I do feel it. Fuck. I feel like it has it all. And yeah, so shoutouts to AcidWorks, and Paul Jenkins, and Damn Right I Got Knives. All three of these are the same person, and he's really cool. And at some point, I am going to interview him for my podcast. I feel so great. Like, oh, I turned 30. I'm gonna make my own podcast now. But like, I'm gonna have interviews with Balisong makers. He's possibly gonna be my first guest. Um, and I know that some people point out, but like, oh, didn't he do that too? Um, I didn't know that, and I'm probably gonna run things differently than how he did. You're allowed to have more than one things. I've been on, you know how many podcasts I've been on for like, how did you get into game audio? Like, what's your, like, tell me about, like, I basically repeat 90% of what I say on every podcast because I get asked a bunch of the same questions. One guy did go out of his way to like listen to like all the other podcasts I was on to like ask other questions, and he did all this research. I was like, damn, Drew. Damn, Drew, you fucking put in the work. That guy's a legend. Um, so yeah, if anyone's like, oh, but Paul did that. My first guess is gonna be Paul. It's fine. He's fine. He's so cool. He's so chill. That guy's great. And he makes one hell of a fucking knife. So, anyways, if like the video, I guess I was gonna like if you found it informative. I don't really know. I mostly just wanted to be like, I can't put this knife down. I can't put it down despite having 4 temp trades. And subscribe for more. I'm gonna have more videos coming out, and sit on that subscribe button's face. Leave a comment. Leave a hot steamy I hate myself. I'm shut the fuck up.